Hi, Julie Jones, mental performance coach from SSB Performance, Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training, here with this week's Mindset Made Simple tip of the week. It all started on Sunday as I was running on my treadmill. I was watching a sermon. My cousin Mark is a pastor here in the greater Akron area at Discover Church, and I wasn't going to be able to go to church on Sunday because I had commitments with Junior Leadership Akron, but I wanted to listen to something to get my day started off. So I'm on the treadmill, running intervals at 1 minute and 7 seconds. That's when my interval trainer changed. And I have his sermon on Facebook. Well, what I found out is when you're looking at something on Facebook or watching something on Facebook, you can't have other applications open to see on your screen or Facebook turns off. So I had my interval timer set. I could hear when the interval stopped, but I couldn't see the clock. So I had no idea what the countdown was for my workout. So I'm running on my treadmill. I don't have my clock synced from my treadmill clock to the clock that's in my interval trainer. And all of a sudden it dings to tell me to hop off, get on my rower and go to my next minute interval. Well, in the meantime, it dinged, it scared the heck out of me and I almost fell off the treadmill. Well, there's a brick wall behind me, not a good thing to do. So I went on, got on the rower, it dinged, no problem there, didn't fall off the rower, hop back on the treadmill, happens again, dings, sort of makes me skittish. So all of a sudden I start to think about my running. I start to anticipate the ding, right? I get tense, I start to be ready to hold the rails when it does happen to make sure I don't fall off, I don't hit the side of the treadmill with my foot, and stumble or whatever it might be. At 6 o'clock in the morning, no one else is in the house is up. So if I end up in the back of the treadmill, no one's gonna know for a couple hours at least. I'll be laying there. So the moral of the story is this, is that I do these intervals consistently. I hop on and off the treadmill every single day with no problem. But as soon as this obstacle or this change in my environment came to be, and it startled me, I started to think about everything. I started to think about my pace. I could barely get on the darn treadmill. Like within, 2 minutes, all this stuff happened. I started to think about what I was doing. Try to think about getting on a treadmill. It's like almost impossible to do. You don't realize, nope, my right foot goes on, my foot comes up, my hands come off immediately, and I go. That's really what happens. But when you think about it, all of a sudden you hang on a little longer, you start to think, and it gets a little tricky if you've got it sped up pretty fast, above whatever is comfortable for you if you're sprinting. So all these things are going on, and I think, all right, there's a solution to this. I can add up the time and figure out when the ding is coming. So instead of just having simple minute intervals, I have to have mine set at 1:07 so that I give myself time to get off one machine and onto the other or to my weights and back or whatever it is. So now I've got to do math while I'm running. I'm sprinting as hard as I can. I'm rowing as hard as I can. And now I've got to do math in the meantime. What I will tell you is this, is that paying attention to the clock and the math changed my workout. Why? Because it made me be present. I had to be in the moment. I couldn't worry about what was coming. I knew when the ding was coming. I had changed that obstacle in my environment and made it normalized. What does this have to do with performance? It has everything to do with performance. There are always going to be obstacles. We always have a choice to adjust. We always have a choice to put in a plan. If X, then Y. As I mentioned in the tip, it works really well in spreadsheets on Excel. I act like I know what I'm doing. I don't, but I know there's an if and a then, and you all do too, probably way more than I do. But the bottom line is that we have to plan for obstacles in our environment. We can go into something that we do every single day. Something comes up that changes things. It can immediately affect our performance, which this did. If I would have continued for my entire workout, anticipating the ding, not knowing when it was coming, eventually I would have either injured myself, I would have built a bad habit, and it wouldn't have been a productive workout. I would have been tense. So now I'm not running as fast. I'm not burning as many calories. My aerobic conditioning is not being trained the way that I intended. But instead, I took a minute, thought about what the problem was, decided it was time to adjust to improve my performance, and made a plan and stuck with it. Occasionally, I would sort of forget where I was on my math addition, but I knew I was in at least within 2 seconds. So I was really a lot closer to controlling the ding than I had been when it first startled me and got me really thinking about what was going on. So the moral of today's tip is that we always have an opportunity to plan, adjust, and control for the controllables. I could not control Facebook, the fact that it allowed me not to see my interval timer, but I could control the clock in front of me and how I was going to use that, or the clock on my rower and how I was going to use that. We have to look beyond occasionally to improve our performance, and we always have a choice to do that. I apologize real quickly. I apologize for the whining in the background, but everybody needs a little bit of this today. Look at that guy, our new puppy. So as you're planning and adjusting, as we are in our house with a new puppy, I hope you'll think about how you can improve your performance this week by thinking about those things that come into your environment that you can't control, but how you can influence them so that you can perform a little better. To learn more about things like this, go to ssbperformance.com. Send me an email at juliej@ssbperformance.com. I'd love to connect with you or those you lead, your team, to help bring tips like this and tools that they can use to improve their performance. Have a great week.